Alright, today we are talking about a game that wins the award for least sturdiest box ever. Maybe.
Absolutely.
It could have been made out of paper, I suppose.
Actually, I think it is.
If you're going to make a box that's thin and fragile, making it big then is a bad idea. But anyway, it's called Conquest Tactics. This was originally conceived as a collectible card game. In fact, the version I have is a collectible card game where each player gets a deck and they play against somebody else, but it's actually a tactical combat game like Summoner Wars, where you're attacking the other person with the cards, but it's no longer a collectible card game. You now can get set decks. In fact, you could even go online and look at all the different cards that come in the game, but it's set decks, constructible deck game, I guess, at this point. But all that being said, if you know anything about Sam and I, we are big Summoner Wars fans.
Yes.
And is this game as good? Well, let's take a look at it, and we'll let you know. This is a board for Conquest Tactics, and one player is going to be attacking another player with their deck of cards. I'm not going to show you the counters for this game because they're basically stones, and they're very boring, and they don't even fit on these points here, these tactical points, so I'm going to use these lightning bolts, which are cooler. Alright, each turn of the game you're going to get a certain amount of tactical points. So you start with 5, then 7, then 9, then 11, then 13, then 15. And so as the game progresses, you're going to get more and more tactical points. And you're going to use these tactical points for quite a few things as the game progresses. So there's an anagram here at the bottom of the board. You can see it says Triumph. Why Triumph isn't in the name is beyond me. But tactical points is the first thing you do. So you get new tactical points that are added to any that you might already have. Then you'll resupply your hand. So you're going to fill your hand. So let's take a look at some of these cards. These are cards from different decks here. The card artwork is really good. There's different styles, different artists. Has a bit of a Magic the Gathering vibe to it. And there are different kinds of cards. Mostly you're going to have characters, and each of these characters is a different level. So you can see, for example, this one is a Novice Mage. It's a level 1 Arcane Mage, and then we have Archers, level 1 Archer, and then a Bishop, a level 2 Holy Mage. These cards cost a certain amount of tactical points to bring into play, and then they have a certain amount of health before they're killed. At the bottom, they'll have an attack cost. If it says R, that means they're ranged, like this one is. And if there is no attack cost, that means they can attack, like these mages here. Most creatures can move 1, but it might say move 2 to be able to move to a certain spot. If they don't have an attack cost or something else, then, or down here when they attack, I'm sorry, they can. This is the amount that they attack for. If they are attacked, that's how much damage they do back. So if this ogre attacks this Death Knight, which probably wouldn't happen, the ogre would deal 7 damage to the Death Knight, and the Death Knight would automatically deal 3 damage back. If there's any kind of shield, for example, the Death Knight here has a shield in the middle of his card, then 7 minus 1, the Death Knight would actually only take 6 damage. Other than that, there's no rolling dice. Combat's very simple, back and forth like that. And then you just keep track with hit point counters, and I'll use these green cubes over here as hit points. Now, you're going to be initially using a certain amount of points to build an army, and you'll have these armies in place here on your side of the board. So after you resupply your hand, then you will determine who has initiative. It will switch back and forth between rounds. Then you call up the field. That's where you're allowed to move each of your people 1 space each up the field towards your opponent. That's all you can do. You do not have to do it, but you may do it with each of your units, and taking turns back and forth. Then you mobilize. This is where you pay points from your hand and bring out new cards. However, there's one point of mobilizing which is pretty neat, is that if you have a level 2 that matches, for example here's a Spearman level 1 support infantry. If I had a level 2 support infantry card, I could place it on top of the Spearman for a cost of only 1 point. And so you can use tactical points during this phase to put out new stuff. You can also equip them with different weapons, and you can also prepare spells. The cost here is the level of the spell, so there's a level 2 spell, And I put these spells over here face down on the board. And not just spells, you can do skills, which is essentially, in the game mechanics, like this skill here, essentially it is a spell, but it's used by some characters. Each character can use different things. For example, you can see this Acolyte here can use fire spells and can use dark spells. Same as the Warlock. While this Death Knight can use dark spells and he can use skill cards. And so so you can upgrade levels, and when you upgrade a level, you also heal half their points. So that's something you're going to want to do. Then you play, which is basically the gist of the game. Players will go back and forth. Whoever has more tactical points goes first, and you keep going until your tactical points are less than your opponent's, and then it's their turn, and then you keep going until everyone's used up all their tactical points. You can use a tactical point to move somebody. You can use tactical points to attack with somebody. You have to be adjacent. You can use tactical points to cast a spell or do one of these from your hand, or if you have one prepared in front of you, you can keep doing it over and over again. I mean, not over and over again, but you can do it once per turn and then turn it face down where it will be flipped up at the beginning of your next turn. You know, there's healing spells. There's all different sorts of things. There's 3 major factions in the game. There's the dark people, there's the good people, and then there's the giant rhinoceros people. They all have their different names, but you're basically trying to go and get your opponent's base. Now, this game has a deck of cards, and you can build any deck of cards you want, but what the game is really focused about is these cards. Here, I have a base for the Malice, the Evil Knight guys, and it's 25 health. This base gives me an advantage, and if it's destroyed, I will lose this advantage. But if I put this base in my deck, all my troops have to be Malice. I can put a mercenary base in my deck, which lets me mix and match, but if I do that, then I won't get a good advantage, and it probably has, you know, less health. But each player is going to start the game with 4 victory cards in front of them, and these victory cards are conditions that they have to meet. For example, here's Darkness. Allied Malice troops outnumber opposing troops by at least 4 to 1. Maybe achieve 2 times per game. If I achieve this at any point during the game, at the end, that's when during the halt, the very last phase, I will place a victory marker on this card. I'm trying to get 3 victory markers, and I can do this one twice. Or I might do Domination, destroy an opposing base. If I do that, I get a victory point. Or Might, when I destroy an opposing troop, I put tokens on this card where X is the cost of the opposing troop. So I put regular tokens on here. Once I get up to 20, I get a victory point. Here, place a token on this card if the number of allied troops in opposing, if I get more troops in my their deployment zone than they get in mine, then I get a victory point on this card too. And you can get different victory point cards. And when you accomplish one of those, you can draw a treasure card, which you can put in your hand. And treasure cards have a redeem value or a recycle. Redeem means you discard it forever, like here, draw 3 cards. Or recycle, and I can keep using it in the future, but then I only draw 1 card. And so you can pick your treasures that you start with too. Here's the Obsidian Ring of Pain and the Sword of the Errant King. So when you start the game, you can pick your victory cards, and you can pick your treasure cards, and you can pick your deck. So you do all that together, the first person to accomplish 3 victory conditions, whatever cards they do that on, is the winner of the game. All right. The first thing that I would notice is that other than drawing the cards from the deck, there's no luck. Well, I mean, but that is a big amount of luck. Getting the right cards you need when you need them. There's nothing that lets you search through your deck. And in Summoner Wars, which I guess we're going to compare this to a lot, I guess, in Summoner Wars, you know you're going to get everybody eventually. You can go through your deck fast enough. You may not in this deck.
Right.
But let's talk about things that we like first. The thing I like the most is I love those 4 victory cards. The different victory conditions,
right.
That's really cool. Although I suspect some of them are easier than others, and if I was making my own, I would put 4 easy victory conditions. Why put a hard one?
Right.
I guess it's something new to try.
Yeah, it is. I mean, right off the bat, you know that some are going to be harder to attain than others. So you almost put those out of your head, and that's pretty much what I did. There were a couple that I knew I could probably accomplish pretty easily, and those are the ones I went after. So that's what you kind of have to do. You have the 4 that are with you the entire time. It's just that you can, and when you achieve them, it's good. But I mean, the idea is that some of them just didn't seem like they were going to happen at all.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I guess you could work towards doing it. If I was constructing my own deck, maybe I could set one up to try to get some of the victory conditions.
Right.
The treasures are a neat idea, but a little underwhelming, I thought. Like, ooh, I got a treasure. It's pretty cool.
I don't know. I used the one that I had. I used to pretty much whoop you.
But would you ever use it for the cycling version?
I guess not.
Because when are you going to see that card again?
Right.
I mean, so you might as well use it for its boom. The other version.
But the one card that I was using, I can't remember the name of it now. It was the one where it reduced the cost of my spells. It reduced the cost of my spells, and it was the cycling one. And it worked. It helped me use like 2 spells every turn, and that's what ultimately won the game for me.
Yeah, the spells was something that Sam and I, when we first were playing, we didn't think they were that big of a deal. And as the game progressed, we were like, oh, because they really came into play later on.
They're worded kind of funny too. That's kind of how we didn't really understand how they would work, but then when we just basically followed the rule, I mean, the way the card was written, we did exactly what it was, and it was like, whoa, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, the rule book could have been written better.
Yeah.
And I think they used this anagram, or not anagram, what's it called? Alliteration of triumph.
Yeah.
To say what to do, but they're like trying to put words in it to get the game. And if triumph is the thing you're using, why isn't it in the game name?
Yeah.
It just seems
like Triumph Tactics or Conquest Triumph, or I don't know.
The races themselves, the fantasy races, I think giant rhinoceroses are cool. I wish I had gotten one of those decks to play with. I did go up online and look up all the different characters, and the rhinoceroses, they're like big beasts. Although some of these guys in this game are beasts anyway.
Yeah, pretty nasty.
The artwork is
good.
Like I said, you can tell it's different artists doing the cards, and some of
that's not necessarily a bad thing, though.
No. Magic the Gathering does it with pretty good success. As for how the game worked, I liked the whole using point system. I think that's a neat idea. I use some points, and if I use a few, I might still get to go another turn before you.
Yeah.
And I liked upgrading the characters.
Yeah.
That was a good fact. The only thing that threw me off was you can get to a point where you're not going to win. I guess you have a small guy on the board, and there's a big guy coming at him, and because there's no luck, you are going to get stomped.
Yeah, I guess you could come pretty close to saying the same thing about Summoner Wars, though. But at least with Summoner Wars, you have that die roll that they could always flub up.
Yeah, and I guess I like that, but I can see the attraction to this because you're putting stuff down, you're moving it around, and it's a very simple system. It can just bog down because there's so much text on the cards, and some of the characters in this game I would never put on the board, while other ones, wow, range is a huge thing. Fireball spells are super powerful, but overall, I like it. I'm just not sure how often I would play it.
Well, I think it does scratch a little bit of a different itch than Summoner Wars does. I mean, the gameplay is similar, concepts are similar, but I think with Summoner Wars you're going to have people that you're going to be able to play Summoner Wars with more people, simply because it's a little bit of a smoother system, and there's not as much cluttering it up. With this one, I think the heavier card game fans will get into it a little bit more, or could get into it a little bit more, because there is a little bit more of a tactical involvement with this, hence the name, I suppose. But this is kind of like I don't want to say it's chess, but it has that same idea. You have to think about your moves, and you have to think about, I mean, using the point system. That's actually a really that's an integral part of how you choose what you're going to do, because you want to be able to make sure that you can do what you have possible in your hand before before your opponent attacks. So I think it has stronger tactical possibilities than Summoner Wars, but I think overall fun factor, Summoner Wars takes it.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that too. I can see this having fans though, because this might be a deeper game for some. So I'll give it a rhinoceros thumbs up.
Rhinoceros don't have thumbs. Use like a.
Okay, one horn up.
2 horns up there. One horn up.
Well, it's 1 horn up. I mean, I like it. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
But it's a decently fun game. Is that the kiss of death? I don't mean it to be, but no, that's really what it is for me.
I don't think it is. Again, not everybody's going to like it, but I think many people will. So I'll go ahead and give it a 1.5 thorns. Thorns? Horns? Horns? I'll go with horns.
All right.
It's a slip of the tongue there. I'll go with 1.5. I did it again. Horns up. Because I enjoyed it, and I think a lot of other people will too. So I don't want to give it the kiss of death that Tom gave it.